Adam Morrison here. When it comes to top-tier contracting, my go-to choice is McGillivray Environmental. They're not just any contractor, they're the best in Spokane and North Idaho. With years of experience, they handle it all. New construction, meticulous repairs, and asphalt overlays. From start to finish, they ensure your project is completed with the highest quality end results. And here's the scoop for this year. McGillivray Environmental has expanded its services to include asphalt paving. That means top-notch commercial parking lots, residential driveways, and road construction. So, ready to kickstart your project? Reach out to Kip at McGillivray Environmental by calling 208-556-6384 for your free estimate. Don't forget to mention my name, Adam from the Perimeter, and experience the difference that McGillivray Environmental brings to the table. Again, that's 208-556-6384, McGillivray Environmental. My number one choice for all my contracting needs.
HDG Architecture is proud to be a sponsor of The Perimeter with Adam Morrison. There is another podcast that you all should be listening to, and it's called If Not Now, When? This podcast, which Josh Hassong of HDG Architecture hosts, has a clear mission to ignite positive change within the Spokane community. On the podcast, Josh brings together diverse individuals from city officials, business owners, journalists, influencers, and big thinkers to have meaningful conversations about what we can do to help transform downtown Spokane into an even more vibrant and robust community. By talking to these movers and shakers, the podcast aims to inspire and empower its listeners by actively shaping their city's future. You can find the If Not Now When podcast wherever you are listening to The Perimeter at, or you can find it in the description of this episode.
Welcome back to Season 3, Episode 7 of The Perimeter, sponsored by McGillivray Environmental. Feels good to be back, kind of, when it's freezing out. Obviously, in this episode, we're going to recap the Maui Invitational that was played in Honolulu. Fantastic tournament. They did a good job of getting that thing off the ground. The venue was decent. The Stan Sheriff Center was, it's not as good as the Lahaina Center or whatever, as far as atmosphere, but it was still solid. And then some really good basketball games. Obviously, the weather was beautiful, the water was beautiful, food, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Coming back and it's 22 degrees out right now, something like that.
It's too cold.
It's freezing.
At least it's sunny, I guess. But
I know it's been a mild winter, but it's starting to get cold, which is normal. But every year it happens. It just sucks.
Did you spend Thanksgiving there?
Yeah.
And then did you come home this weekend?
Yeah, I came home Friday.
Oh, nice.
Friday night, I think. But yeah, we did Thanksgiving after, the games were Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and just had all day Thursday to do whatever and hung out at the beach and pool and, ate dinner and went to a restaurant with my kids and stuff.
Totally.
It was fantastic. But, first game that we played there was a really tough matchup. We talked about in the previous episode about playing Purdue, probably the best team in the country. Zach Eady, the Smith kid's a good player, lawyer on the perimeter who didn't have a good game against us. But just how much of a opportunity and challenge it would be for our guys to play in that game. I thought to start, the plan was way better than it was last year defensively. We played, some of it has to do with personnel, but we played Edie straight up one-on-one with Graham Ike. And I like that strategy. And if you're listening, you're thinking, well, wouldn't that be at an extreme disadvantage not to double team him? I like the idea of, letting a guy maybe get 40, but nobody else touches it and gets in a rhythm. He's going to have to really beat you, and that's hard to do. Mm-hmm. And he started the game 3 for 3, and it was kind of like, oh, God. And it was 6-0. And then we came down and banged in 2 threes and then got like a 14-6 run, went on a 14-0 run.
Yeah.
So I thought the game plan was good, though, because we didn't overhelp when he got it in the post. We didn't double team because he's too tall. I talked about that. He just sees right over the top of it, and he's trained to, hit a dive cut or, dive cut from the weak side and then a fill behind. So then you're the guy on the weak side has to guard 2. and he's going to smash the cutter. So then you end up giving up wide open threes, which in today's game is a no-no, obviously. So putting Graham on him, I thought was the right move, because he started, like I said, I think he was 3 for 3, but then I think he missed his like next 4 or 5 shots, and it's not like Graham was playing the same defense, but it's not like he's a perfect player or anything like that. So I think just the overall strategy to start the game was much better executed than it was the year before in Portland. Portland, we tried to front and double team. It's just, you can't do that because they flash and they hit them high, and they're just trained to angle them. So to start the game, I was really impressed with, like I said, the plan, the execution was much better. And for the most part, we controlled that first half. And if you want to be completely honest, there was a couple times where I felt like we could have extended the lead beyond 5. And there were some opportunities where we didn't exactly make the right plays or right decisions, or just had some silly turnovers. And then obviously I'll get into it. The 3-point shooting was absolutely horrendous. I mean, just plain and simple. Like, I think the last 3 that we made was at the 2:32 mark when Dusty hit that corner 3 that bounced around forever.
In the second half?
In the first half.
Oh, in the first half. Oh, my God. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, then we missed 16 in a row after that. We went 0 for 16 since, which is crazy to even think about. So we were 6 for 16 at that point. Yep.
Yeah.
Or 5 for 17, or 5 for 15, 6 for 16 make, and then we ended up 6 for 32.
Yeah.
So, we were getting great opportunities. It's not like they were all completely wide open, but they weren't all like forces.
Yeah.
And they weren't early in the clock. So
was that a strategy that was Purdue just giving us the 3? Like,
well, I think they were probably banking of just looking on percentage wise. Yeah. I mean, Dusty's unproven as a shooter. Nobody knows Braden Huff, and I mean, he obviously can make shots, but he's a freshman. And then they know Ben Gregg is a pick and pop guy. That's obvious. Graham's shot made this first 2. He was the one that scored the first 6 points. But that's not his game.
No.
You know what I mean? It's one of those where, I said it on the air, where you dare a guy and you kind of hope he makes 1 or 2, because then he'll keep shooting it.
Totally.
And it's not a knock on Graham, but he's better around the basket, and he'll tell you that too.
Yeah.
So he's improved that area of his game, but he needs to take 2 wide open ones a game, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not 6 or whatever he took. Yeah, he's 2 for 6, and he missed his next 4. So, going into that first half, up 5, obviously felt good against the number 1 team in the country, but you also were like, man, we could have extended that if we made strung together shots, because they didn't play very good offensively. I mean, they shot 10 for 27 in the first half, 1 for 6 for 3. So defensively, we were absolutely fantastic, and on the glass. I mentioned it the year before at Portland. They went plus 15. We ended up going even for the game, but I think at halftime we were either even or like -1, -2, which obviously basically a wash. So I was really pleased and impressed with the effort, the execution of the game plan. I thought we did a good job on Edie, like I said, in the first half. Obviously, the 3-point shooting beyond that got really stagnant, but there was just opportunities that. If you look back at that game, especially in the first half, we didn't try to extend the lead. So, like I said, you're up 5. Okay, we feel pretty good. Purdue came out with a lot of energy early, and they had a lot of fans there, and they played with a lot of grit, and they just kept, itching the game along. And I think there was a sequence. My memory serves, but there was a sequence where it was tied, or we were up 2 or down 2, where the game was really close in the second half, and we got 2 straight steals with Hickman either a 2-on-1 or a 1-on-1, and we didn't convert on them. And then they extended the lead after that, and then it kind of got into cruise control for them, where they could control the pace. Edey played much better in the second half. He ended up 8 of 16, 14 rebounds, 25 points. The biggest stat, though, 9 for 10 from the free throw line.
Yeah.
13 of 16 overall for Purdue, 5 of 8 for us. So obviously it tells a story. You could easily argue the whistle wasn't our way. I usually try to be as non-biased as possible. I didn't think the whistle was that bad. You know what I mean? They were just more aggressive. We were shooting way too many threes. That was part of the game plan too, though. Like, it's not like let's go out and jack, but hey, we know there's a big kid around the rim that can block shots. So picking pops and spacing them and spreading them gives you an opportunity to negate that. But if you miss a bunch, then it can be really bad.
Yeah.
So I think that second half, we missed 16 threes in a row, which is almost like historic. And I don't mean to be funny, but like if you look back, I think that's probably the all-time record of consecutive missed threes and maybe field goals or whatever. Threes for sure for Gonzaga. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a game where he makes 16 in a row. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no,
I guarantee there's not.
Yeah.
It'd be, or you'd really have to search, like whenever. Or there's not even games sometimes you even take 16 threes in general. So.
Yeah, that's true. Like from your perspective, like, were they tired? Were they just taking bad shots?
No, I think it was maybe a little bit of both. Okay, so the shot selection was a B+. It wasn't absolutely terrible. And at this level, you're going to take, quote unquote, some bad ones. And I know that sounds funny if people are listening like, what? It's like, well, Division I players, and not everything's going to be scripted. Like, guys and if they're good shot makers, they will take some, quote unquote, bad ones. And sometimes they go in. You kind of have to let guys play that style. But also, I think maybe there was a, how do I say this the right way? It's when you use all your energy all at once, you know what I'm saying? And you don't get your second wind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So basically, I think our legs looked a little bit heavy in that first game, which is, jet lag or whatever you want to call it. The time change, even though it's going backwards for us, it's not as big. Maybe that could be an issue or blamed on the poor three-point shooting. But Purdue went 4-17 as well.
Yeah.
So, maybe it was a bad shooter's gym, or the rims were tough, or, I mean, seriously, that's a real thing. The balls are pumped up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people laugh when I say that. I'm like, during the NCAA tournament, there is a level that the balls have to be inflated by. I mean, it's, it's a real thing. The refs have a monitor thing. And then the rim tightness is measured, and they do it in the upper, like, 3/4 of what it's allowed, and you're in the NCAA tournament, and you're always like, hey, dumbasses, this is an entertainment product, and there's been data. The shooting percentages go down like half, probably like 5% per game, basically, overall. Like, have you watched NCAA tournaments? Man, there's a lot of bricks.
Yeah.
Part of it, I'm not even joking, like, the rims are tight as shit, and they're brand new balls out of the package that are inflated as hell, and you're always like, again, dumbasses, like, this is a viewing product. You want the ball to go in the basket.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
Yeah. Well, because they measure it and they have to tighten it, right? Like,
yeah, they tighten it to a certain, but they do it there's a window you can have it, and I think they do it on the upper three, higher than it, or the lower end, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is dumb. It's a TV product, right? Obviously the NCAA. So anyway, that maybe looked like it a little bit. Could have been part of it, but I mean, at the same time, let's be fair. Like, and this is not just to knock guys, but they would say the same thing. Like, you got to step up and make a shot, and it's not like they missed them on purpose or they weren't trying. It just didn't go down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, we ended up losing by 10. Purdue just made a bunch of plays. That Smith kid, the point guard, number 3, was 6 for 8. He had a great game, 13 points. We did an excellent job on the other guard, Lawyer, who killed us last year. He was 0 for 6, only had 2. But the Jones kid I think he was from like Southern Illinois, great transfer for them.
Yeah.
Went 6 of 14, had 13, but it was just his athleticism and his pace and defensive work kind of really hurt us. And then, let's look down on our stats. I mean, Graham was 6 of 10, played 27 minutes, played great, 14.7 rebounds. Anton didn't play great, 4 of 10, 8 points, 4 assists, only 2 rebounds, played 23 minutes. Nemhard played 39 minutes, went 5 of 17, 11 points, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers, but didn't shoot it well. 1 for 9 from 3. Let's look at Nolan's line was 5 of 14, 11 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists. Oh, no, 2 assists, 4 turnovers. So he didn't play good. So our backcourt goes 10 for 31 on 2 for 12 from 3. Bad.
Yeah.
And then Stromer, I know he's a freshman, played 30 minutes, 3 of 7, 1 for 5 from 3, 9.6 rebounds. So, I mean, he's going to get better offensively, but he'll probably tell you that's not a great offensive game either.
You don't want Graham EK being your top three-point shooter.
Yeah, exactly. That's nothing against Graham, but it's just that's not his game. So we ended up, like I said, 6 of 32. That's a whopping 18.8% and 37% from the floor. So, like, it's something, we don't have to look up right now, but, like, when's the last time you've ever seen us shoot under 40%? Like, if we shoot in the 42s, that's really considered like a really bad game for Gonzaga basketball. Yeah. Not just on shot making, but normally we create layups and easier shots, ankle baskets, stuff that you kind of manufacture. So all in all, tough game. It was a tough matchup no matter what. I would say that even if we won, like it was just a hard matchup. They're really good. They're going to be tough in the tournament. The only thing that, can be scary for them, and they already know this, it happened to them last year, is if we make those threes, they really struggle with, because they got to get Edey away from the basket. That's what happened to them in the first round. You know what I'm saying? And then if you can get him in foul trouble and get him off the floor, obviously they're not as dynamic offensively. But when he's on the floor and when they're rolling and playing defense and flying around, they're really, really tough to beat. I think Painter's a good coach. I think he's a good guy too. You know what I'm saying? They kind of play the right way and not cheap. Fans were nice. You know what I'm saying? Like some programs, you're like, I really don't want these guys to win, even if they're not playing us. But they're like, they seem like they figured it out. And
they're a good program. I feel like
they are a good program. They just got to figure it out in March, and that's everybody can say that. But last year was a debacle. So for their the rise of their program or the continued escalation, they need to have a good tournament run.
Yeah, someone made a good point in the broadcast saying that the year Virginia lost in the first round, they went and won the tournament next year. So
it's possible.
They looked apart. So
absolutely, I totally agree. So all in all, tough first game. The beauty of that tournament is it was such a loaded field that it was either Tennessee or Syracuse. We were going to have an opportunity to play. And obviously we played Syracuse.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
We love our house, but lately we've been feeling a little cramped.
So we talked to ICCU about a new home loan. The process was super quick, and we got a really great rate.
We start house hunting tomorrow.
Preferably something with a bigger garage.
All right, so obviously the Syracuse game was next, loser of Syracuse, Tennessee. So interesting matchup. It's a new staff. It's the first time Bayham, I think it was like 42 years or something. It was a crazy stat, like since the 70s or some shit like that. Like, I'm not even kidding. I was like, when I heard that, I was like, oh my God. And that's not like making fun of him. He's old or whatever. It's like, man, that guy coached there forever. Ever.
It's going to be Mark Few in 20 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, holy smokes. Like, they're trying to create a program. They obviously have a national brand. Had a tough year last year. I think they were like 18 and 15. I've got away from the zone, which was weird seeing a Syracuse team not run the 2-3 zone, the patented 2-3 zone. But I loved the way our guys came out and played. Started the game off fantastic. Graham was doing his work inside. And Syracuse just looked out of sorts. In the first half, Syracuse shot 10 for 35, 28%, 3 of 14 from downtown. So they kind of had the same issue that we did, taking a lot of threes and not making them. And then we were running out and getting layups and, moving the basketball. So I was really pleased with our tenacity in the second game, especially early. Anton was way better in that first half than he was against Purdue. He's more productive, more active. 6-11 for the game at 13 rebounds, 4 offensive, 12 points, 3 assists. That's the type of games that he needs to have, every single time out. Obviously, we're going to talk about his UCLA game was fantastic, but he needs to be more productive and active. And it's not just scoring the basketball, but energy-wise, and he knows that, and he's a senior, and me ranting about it doesn't, everybody knows that. But I think he probably watched the Purdue tape and probably got the message from the coaches, like, I can't play without flying around and doing all those little things that he's so good at. So he really sets the tone. If he does that too, energy-wise, it helps our guys. He creates just good plays, steals, you know what I'm saying, and run-outs and tip-ins and good defensive plays. Like, all those things matter, and they help you get some team confidence and some things of that nature. So I was really pleased with how well our guys started that game. We ended up going up 14 and a half, really controlled the pace. Syracuse made a few small runs to try to get it within, 7 or 8, and then we would, make a couple threes or just run outs or big time plays. So I was really happy with, the way that our guys responded, especially there in that first half. It's tough coming off a loss, but you can always, tell how good a team's going to be is how they respond to it. And I know that sounds cliche, but some teams, sulk or they pull point fingers or, they don't buy into the coaching, and our guys don't do that. So it was a fantastic first half. Second half, much of the same. We ended up winning 37-32 on the half, plus 19, 76-57 overall, but just control the pace. There wasn't really much of a threat from Syracuse to come back in that basketball game. Judah Mintz for them was fantastic. The little guard, 9 of 14, had 22 points, scored the basketball. Plays really crazy. It's kind of fun to watch, but it would be hard to coach and, or be a fan, because he takes some wild ones, but he makes them. But some of them are like, holy criminy. You know what I mean? Like, wow. And then so, like I said, Graham had 16 of 14, 50% from the field, only 27 minutes. So that was fantastic. Anton, 13 rebounds, 12 points. Great. Nemhard, a little bit better game. The 5 of 17. He has 4 of 9 in the second one. 11 points, 7 assists, much better. Dusty only had a field goal. Nolan Hickman was way better, did an excellent job of scoring at 7 of 14, 19 points, 2 rebounds. So a much better game for him. Still didn't shoot the 3 well, though, as a totality. 7 of 20. So let's go. That's 13 for 52 in 2 games in a row. Yes, 6 of 30. What is 13 for 52?
Oh my gosh,
I can't do that math, but it's got to be in the 20s, right?
25%.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. To put it in perspective, our percentage for the year is at 30%.
Yeah. You want to be 40 is like the goal as a team, which that's really good. If you're in the 35 plus, you can live with it, especially on the volume. And obviously that matters too, how many you're taking.
Yeah.
The 3-point shooting was a whoa in those first 2 games. But really pleased with the effort. Our guys did an excellent job of responding, like I said. Massive number too, this stat. Plus 20 on the glass against Syracuse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so absolutely killed them on the interior and took them to the woodshed. 17 assists, but a number that was kind of scary, and we saw it a little bit in the Purdue game, 18 turnovers. We had that same issue, remember last year?
Yeah, at the beginning of the season. It
was like
a constant thing that came up, and then it kind of went away.
Yep. They had 14 in the previous game against Purdue, so that's a lot of turnovers. Obviously, it's going to be something to keep watching, but it's something that I think you can remedy as the year goes by and guys get more comfortable. Again, this is going to be something that's new to maybe some Zag fans with the transfer portal and just new faces. Like, it takes a little bit of time to get your guys playing on the same page. I know it's not an excuse. You also are Division I basketball players, take care of the basketball. That's what probably the message is too. But 18 is obviously too high. If you have like 12, 11, obviously under 10s, you're always your goal. But if you're the 10 and 11s and you're playing, they're all downhill turnovers, you're playing, downhill and not trying to, not bad run out turnovers is basically what I'm trying to say. Like, you can live with some of them. That's okay. But really pleased with the effort, the 19-point win. Syracuse would be hard to watch, man. It looked like an AU game for them. I'm not kidding, man. Like, this is not a knock. They're a proud program, and that coach is going to turn it around. They have great recruiting and great brand. But I mean, I literally, they've run like 5 out or 4 out, and it's like contested 2 jump shot, and then nobody crashes the glass. It's like watching an AU game. It's so hard to win that way, man.
Yeah.
They had a guy go, Chris Bell, 2 of 18, 1 for 10. They just didn't obviously shoot the ball, but some of them were just contested shots. They're hard shots to make. Nothing was easy, and that's testament to our guys' defense. But that would be hard to watch every single night, and then try to coach those kids the right way through it. And obviously it's new, but if they're like receptive to that, not playing that style of basketball, because it's hard to win that way, man. Everything's contested, and if you don't make shots, you don't win. Even if you make shots, you're going to make tough shots consistently. Just the law averages is not going to be on your side. So yeah, we get into the championship game, and what do you know? It's UCLA. It's like we've played them 4 years in a row now, I think, or
something
3.
like that.
Yeah, I think it's 3 or 4 times. We've beat them the last 4 times, but I think we've played them 3 years in a row. I think that's the one. Anyway,
Yeah.
Nobody even thought we were going to play them, because we were hoping, they beat Marquette, and somehow we'd play Marquette. That'd be another good matchup.
That would have been a great matchup,
But just to have, just because we played them, it's not even to have to do with my stuff. It's like, remember we played them in Vegas 2 years ago, and there was that mini on-court thing with Mick Cronin and his staff with a couple of our guys.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the Jalen Suggs deal, and then that, and then last year. So, it's just like we're sick of playing them, and they're probably sick of playing us. Not just because they lose, because it's just it turns into a rock fight. Like, we're just beating the crap out of each other. So going into that game, everybody's like, oh, my God. And it's so weird at this tournament. I get why they do it for the TV slots, and it's a weird TV slot day because it's the day before Thanksgiving, so you're kind of competing with some stuff.
Yeah.
But we had to play it at 7. We were the 5th, 6th place game. We had to play the very last game of the night. So it was really weird doing that. Came on at 9 o'clock back home, and then 12 Eastern. So I'm like, well, nobody's watching this. So you're like, it's just a weird. But if you're ESPN, whoever did it for the television side, they're probably happy, because it's like, well, we got 2 West Coast teams, and we can, do the same storyline that we've done for the last 6 years or whatever.
For sure, yeah.
So yeah, it was funny, because I know they're radio guys, and I've seen their SID and stuff, and we're just like, hey man, it's just like kind of both of us like, oh, here we go again, it's like, good to see you, but it's just like, I think we're tired of playing each other. I think it's
they're definitely tired of playing us.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think from what I heard, there was supposed to be a game that we play somewhere down there next year, like we restart a neutral site series or something like that. And I think that might be off the table now. I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if both clubs are just mutually like, yeah, let's not play each other. Yeah. Let's figure this out. So anyway, we get into that game. They have a totally different lineup than years before, missing Jaquez, Tiger Campbell, The other kid that Ju Zhang, but that was 2 years ago. So like, it was the UCLA rivalry, but it was like only Anton, Nolan, because Bona didn't play against us last year. They're a great inside guy.
Right.
So like, Huddy had the stat. It was like only three guys total, or maybe four from both teams, like scored a basket or played any meaningful minutes in the last year's game.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like two new teams in theory, right?
Totally, yeah.
So that part was kind of funny. It was like, it's a huge rivalry, but they've never played against each other. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean. We're not natural rivals. We're only rivals because we've played each other so much. Like the rivalry does not make sense. Like it wouldn't make sense. I don't think.
No, I agree. So we knew going into that game it was going to be fist fight. We know Mick Cronin likes to call a lot of sets. They don't play with a lot of flow. Very good defensive team. They're always tough. He's a good coach. He likes to get on his guys, and they get after it. So you know going in it's going to be a physical battle. You're going to have to defensively get through some of your secondary actions and your pressure releases. And then on the other end, defensively, you're going to have to play them for, 25 seconds on the shot clock. Like, you have to play through the whole deal.
Mm-hmm.
So starting that game, I was really pleased with our attention to detail defensively, our ability to play at our pace. We were playing faster, and that you have to do it against them. You have to really push the pace.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anton had the half of his life, and then ended up being the game of his life in the Gonzaga uniform.
Yeah.
Was absolutely fantastic. In 29 minutes, he ends up going 14 for 15, 3 of 3 from downtown, only goes 1 for 4 from free throws. That's fine. 7 assists, drew 8 fouls, 32 points, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Just couldn't miss and really carried us in that, especially in that first half. We didn't really have like a great flow. Graham was 0 for 6 totality in the game, but didn't play good first half, obviously. But Anton just got hot, and I think it kind of surprised them. They knew he was a good player, but they probably didn't think he could get a 30-piece like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a 30-piece with such high efficiency, field goal percentage-wise. So really pleased how he played the game, and he started. Like I said, really carried us. We go up 4 at half, and it was one of those kind of like the Purdue deal, like, shoot, I think we could be up 10 or 12, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that's the, product of a well-coached team and a well-coached or strategy and tough players that UCLA has. They're going to fight and claw, and they can get back into basketball games. They can muck it up a little bit and then slow it down and get you out of your rhythm, and then make little 4-6-0 runs. And then you look up, you're like, oh, shoot, we're only up 7. Oh, shoot, we're only up 4. You know what I mean? When you feel like you've controlled the game for that first half in totality, like, man, we could be up 15. But that's what, like I said, that's what good teams do. So up 4, Anton's really carrying us. We did a great job in the first half against Adem. Is it Adam with an E? Is that how you say Adem? I think
Adem, yeah.
Yeah, Adem. Bona, who's a fantastic player, sophomore, huge physical presence inside. Got him in foul trouble, got him off the floor. We had a good defensive package against him. We kind of swarmed a little bit. We didn't full double team the whole time, but I like swarming and then rotating out and contesting shots, making it really difficult for him inside. So I thought, that was, a great strategy, and it was executed perfectly, because that's, on the radio broadcast, that's what I said, one of the keys to the game is can't let him play well, because he was like I think he was at 19 and 8 type of guy, but, could get 30 and 15, type of player. He reminded me of, it's a big Kentucky kid that we played. Most player of the year. I can't remember his name, but he had the same body type and same deal where he could really punish you inside. It's a Kentucky kid last year.
I'm drawing a blank.
Sheboy,
yeah.
Oscar Sheboy. He's exactly like that. Like, that's what he felt like. We're just body type, power around the rim, foul pressure, all those things. Double teaming where it can really disorganize your defense if you don't do a good job on them and stay in front and then wall up and make them make tough contested jump hooks over the top you instead of angle layups or dunks. So I was really pleased with that. And then that second half just really got into, a good back and forth game. It was a little bit sluggish. There were so many whistles. Let me see the foul. There's 51 fouls called.
I was going to ask about that. Well, there was a ton called in the first half.
There's a ton. And to be honest, like, I think the refs probably got like a B or B minus. So
really?
It wasn't completely terrible.
Right, yeah.
Because they were calling some random ones, but also like that's the game that's kind of how UCLA plays, and that's not like a knock. It's their style, though. They play like really physical. They push you around, and eventually sometimes refs don't call it, and if they're used to that style, they'll just let you play that way, and it makes it really difficult for teams to function. And then obviously we're probably doing the same thing on the other end.
Yeah.
Just some of the random ones were weird though, like on box outs. It's like, dude, we've been fighting the whole game, and then all of a sudden you want to call this. You know what I'm saying? Like, let both guys battle for it unless it's completely obvious. Like, that stuff I think you got to let go, because then it just it disrupts the flow of the game. There's a lot of stoppages. So, we really couldn't flow offensively. Like I said, Anton goes 14 of 15, carried us again in the second half. Nemhard struggled again. 3 of 12, 12 points, 4 assists, 5 turnovers. Dusty didn't make a field goal. 0 for 5, 0 for 3 from downtown.
Yeah.
Nolan played a little bit better, 4 of 9, 11 points. But obviously it's Nemhard, Watson, and Hickman are the only 3 guys in double figures. But hey, that's how it's got to be sometimes.
Totally, yeah.
And that's not a knock on anybody. It just sometimes that's how the game goes. Braden didn't get much burn, 6 minutes. Ben Gregg played all right. Made a big free throw down the stretch, 17 minutes. June actually made a good play early in that first half. Then he knocked down a 3. I was happy for the kid to have something go right for him, so then maybe he can get some more minutes. You could see the weight lifted off his shoulders. There was a play in the first half where he rotated at the rim and did a vertical contest, and it was a good play. It was the right play, and then he came down and knocked down the 3 the very next sequence. So you could see how happy the bench was, and it was just nice because then you kind of get that out of the way. You can be like, all right, I can play. But defensively on our side, we did an excellent job. Bona only had 11. Talked about how dynamic he was. Only played 21 minutes, got him in foul trouble. Dylan Andrews for them really struggled. 2 of 15, only had 5. Stefanovic played okay, had 16 on 5 of 11. And then Mack, their other guard, 4 of 10, had 16. But for the most part, we played excellent defense. Again, shooting wasn't great. 6 of 16 from downtown, 37%, not terrible. But we only shoot 43% for the game. And on the flip side, UCLA shoots 35%.
Yeah.
So, all in all, another good win. I think UCLA is going to end up being a top 25 team. They'll figure it out, and they'll make the NCAA tournament. So it's going to be a good win for us is what I'm
for sure.
at. Yeah, it's going to be a resume type win. I thought it was a great tournament. Like you said, you want to beat Purdue and have a chance to play Kansas or Tennessee, but tough matchup. Purdue ends up winning it. There was a really good Kansas Marquette game that was fun to watch there. But I thought all in all, we kind of found out what our guys can do. I know it's still early, but, obviously shooting might be an issue for us. Maybe we get it together.
Yeah.
Or string something together, and that's not end of the world. But if we want to be fair, this team is way, way more tougher defensively than we were last year.
That's true,
It's not even close. Like grittier, rotating hard, a team want to on the glass, diving on the floor, like all that stuff. Like we weren't soft last year, but we had like Drew's like, after this, I'm going to go down and score 25. Julian, same thing. I was the same way when I was like, I don't want to dive on the floor. You know what I mean? Like, well, I got to go score 30 on the other end, to win. And that's what Drew was thinking and Julian. So it's not a complete, like just being lazy. It's like, well, I'm on the floor for 38 minutes. Like I got to manage my way through this game. But we have guys that are willing to rebound. We were only actually +2 against UCLA, which is a tough-nosed rebounding team. They were, I think, +6 on the season, so that was a huge win for us on the glass. free throw shooting wasn't great, 17 and 29. That's going to improve. But all in all, I thought it was a great tournament. Anton, I think, was the MVP overall. I mean, he had 2 good games, not a great Purdue game, but two good games in a row. One really fantastic one. No, it was solid.
But if you were, coming back from that and you were like coaching the team, what would you focus on working on?
Obviously, easy answer is shooting, but that's like an individual thing. So you'll do it in practice.
Yeah,
that's no question. But maybe try to figure out finding better ways to get easier shots. And that's kind of a process thing, and that's kind of a how do I say this? You're at the Division I level. You're gonna make a shot, and our guys will. And it just was a 3-day tournament in a row that wasn't a great shooter's gym. No team shot good, so I really think some of that what we discussed earlier was part of that.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, very few times in NCAA players' careers they play 3 games in a row.
Yeah, it never happens.
Like that, you just gassed after the third.
Yeah, I remember when we played. We played a triple overtime against Michigan State and won that game. But I mean, hydration's a real thing. When we went over there, we weren't allowed. Well, we weren't not allowed, but it was highly encouraged not to be out on the beach the day of the game or the day before. And, I mean, even if you're, maybe an hour and that's it. You know how you can get sun beat.
Totally,
and, You know what I'm saying? And then you're walking on the sand and you lose your legs and stuff like that. So that's a real thing. I think it's easy to fall into we're in Hawaii. It's so nice, which it is. I think that has something to do with it. And you'll never play 3 games in a row or even 2 anymore in any tournament. The West Coast Conference, you will. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But NCAA tournament doesn't do that. So these tournaments are obviously good for preparing short scouts for your staff and your team. And we obviously showed we can execute game plan. I think Dusty has looked good at times. He's got to score the basketball more, which he will. But defensively, he's been fantastic, especially for a freshman and on the glass. He's super athletic. I really like his game. I think the offense will come. I thought Graham looked good in stretches. I think Braden looked good in stretches. I think he needs to play more. That's just my personal opinion. He'll fit the Fewey and the staff will get him more minutes, but he can't play 6 minutes of the UCLA game. There must have been a reason why. But he's too skilled. He'll play more.
The minutes played, Nimhard, Stromer,
I know,
Hickman,
40,
yeah.
I know. They played the whole game, obviously.
Yeah.
And, Fewey likes, solid guards. And, he's obviously he's not going to put Luka in there yet. He's not going to put June in there yet in that position. And then he's probably not going to, that's it. And then there's no steal. So it would have been Steele, and then Dusty would have split those minutes with maybe those other 3 counting Steele. So that's where it gets kind of wonky if you're looking at the minutes. And fans, I've had people ask me, do you need depth? And I'm like, yeah, you do, but it's not as important as you think, but it's also nice to have. If that makes sense. I was overall I was impressed, not just because we won 2 games, is how we battle against Purdue, and I really mean that. Much better game plan. They're obviously beatable. Everybody is, but they're a team that you can get. But the game plan was way better, and the focus was way better than it was last year. And then the Syracuse bounce back game was good. It was a get right game. And then UCLA. That's always going to be a hard nosed team. Mick Cronin, man, he chews those kids out of the sideline, man.
I was going to ask,
holy smokes,
are you
man.
close to the?
I'm across,
You're
so
across.
I could see I have a perfect view of it. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not. I can't hear what he's saying, but I know he's getting on his guys. But that's how he coaches, and they obviously get good players to go there.
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna kill his style because he wins.
Right.
But holy smokes, man! Some of those are
There's a time
they
were just had the camera right on him, and he was just chewing out one of the players, and I was just
and it's it's not like yelling; it's yelling and fu, mfu, it's and you're a soft person, but the slang word for that inappropriate one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
We got good sponsors. We've had them in the past, but we're not going to cuss as much. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, yeah. So anyway, great tournament. It was fantastic. Obviously, for me personally, I took my 2 youngest kids there. We had a blast sitting on the beach and all that stuff. It's fun, man.
Yeah.
I love going there. And again, hats off to everybody getting that accomplished because, you know, after the Lahaina stuff,
Yeah.
it was dicey, and it's one of those deals where you don't want to, you know, nobody's going to be like, we need to still play basketball. It's like, hey man, what do we do here? And whatever you guys think is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're in that position where like, you obviously want to go and you want to support, but like if just going over there, like offensive as well, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, for
people
sure.
just died and they lose their whole everything. And then you're just like, hey, can we play basketball and go chill on the beach? You know what I'm saying? So you have to like make sure that your attitude's the right way.
I think
you know.
I think one of the reasons why they couldn't even move it in Maui is because I think the place they usually play it is like currently being used by first responders, and then I think the other place in Maui is also being taken over. So like there's just you couldn't do it in Maui this year.
Yeah,
So
yeah, but
it'll be back there.
Yeah, good job though by like the tournament, and again, I think it was a very positive for us. I think we'll continue to get better. 3-point shooting is obviously it's going to be a question mark, and we got to watch it as the season progresses. And there's not like a quick fix to it. It's just guys got to step up and make shots. I say it all the time on the air. You've probably heard me. I've probably said in one of these episodes. There was an NBA term. They still say it's a make or miss league.
Yeah.
And what it is every team and every coach is pretty good at running actions, and everybody runs kind of the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You get the wide open shot, you look really good as a coach if they go in. If they don't, this guy sucks. Why does this team suck? It's just make or miss.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think, especially that Purdue game, like if you watch the tape, it's like, okay, guys, those are pretty good shots.
Yeah.
And they just didn't go down.
I mean, if you make three of those that we missed, it's a 1-point game.
Yeah,
like so,
exactly.
I didn't feel as a fan I did not feel upset about losing that game. Like they look gassed, they look.
Yeah,
you know, and they're just
tired.
they couldn't find the threes, and that's just going to happen sometimes. And it's better to happen now than in March.
Exactly. You don't want that to happen in March. We got a listener question.
The Perimeter will be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Our family is all over the place sometimes, but ICCU helps us keep up with them. We use card control to turn on Olive's debit card when she needs to pay for activities.
And turn it off when she's shopping online.
We make sure Forrest is depositing his lawn mowing checks into his college fund. And we definitely make sure to ask Grandma Ivy where all those Zelle transfers come from. Phew, was a lot of keeping up. You ready for a break?
So you're heading down to Vegas this week for USC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should be fantastic. Vegas is great for Gonzaga. We've had obviously the tournament there, and it's great for people to quick trip and all that stuff. And Vegas is fun. I think USC is a great team. Ken Palm rankings 33, so just outside the top 25. If you get a quad 1 win, I think it's quad 1 is top 50 or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
I'll explain that one of these episodes before the NCAA tournament, but I'll get really dialed in for people to understand. But the Ken Palm is like the old RPI, so 33 is good. So if you win that game, it's gonna help you no matter what, even if they're outside the top 25. They've had a good win against Kansas State. They're playing Bakersfield, who we play tonight. I'm not even going to talk about them. They're not very good. Brown and Seton Hall have lost to UC Irvine. That's a bad loss in their eyes. And then Oklahoma, you can flip a coin,
Yeah, Oklahoma just got in the top 25 in the AP poll,
Yeah.
so like they're
Yeah.
they're a good team. I guess there's not really much to talk about in this game. It's just,
I know.
I think what everybody wanted to talk about in this game is Bronny James.
Exactly.
And the news from that camp is that he's now practicing with the team. Like he's in warm-ups. There's no news if he's going to play against Gonzaga.
I doubt it.
I doubt it.
And here's what I would say about that too. And obviously, he comes from a good family and smart people and people around him. Like there is literally zero rush for this kid to get back. Like why?
Yeah.
Okay. And just give the context to listeners if you didn't know. he had a heart attack, wasn't it?
He had a
Heart issue.
yeah, no, it was like a heart attack.
He had like a heart attack.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not completely right, but it was a heart issue during a workout where he I think, was administered CPR or, so, obviously that's scary. He's a healthy kid. But then you find out quickly how healthy you are if you don't, you didn't maybe do an echo check, echo test. And so now it's like, I think every program does it, major program does it now because it's just liability wise. But, that's just a scary position of where your family is or not. That's still scary. So like, even if his dad wasn't LeBron James and his dad wasn't worth $1 billion and he's going to have a great life, you know what I mean? Like your health matters. So like sit out a year. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he waits. He's going to have every opportunity to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
He's good enough, I think, right now from like what I've seen in I know it sounds funny in high school, but like body movement and style of play, it's like, okay, he can play in the NBA, just off that, and like not right away, but like, all right, he's on the right path is what I'm trying to say. So it'd been cool to see him play, obviously, because I've kind of watched him from afar, and he seems like a really nice kid and a good player. But unfortunately he's not, I assume. But this is still a good, really good tournament for, or a game, a non-conference game for us, and Vegas is always fun. So we do that Saturday, and then we'll come on back. So, we obviously played Bakersfield tonight. It's going to be aired later on the podcast. So like, I'm not even going to talk about it. They're not very good. Yeah. So we'll recap the USC game and
look ahead towards the UW game and
then UW in Heck Ed. That'll be fun. It's we rarely play there. It's been a while since we played there, and so
that's true.
It's kind of cool. Like I've talked about in the past, that they've brought this rivalry back. It's good for both programs. Good for the state.
Yes, we do have a couple of listener questions. The first one is, and I'm glad you wore the hat today, is where'd you get that hat? We've had like 5 messages.
Yeah, I get it. People ask me all the time. I got it at the bookstore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a 47 brand.
Yeah.
So I've told people, I'm like, 47 brand, go on the line, and people message back like, I can't find it. So
did you buy it this year?
I'm probably going to go back to the bookstore and buy like 2 more just to have.
Yeah.
Because I used to have one that was like, the USA basketball, that USA basketball symbol, it said Zags and then like Gonzaga under it.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome hat, but I can never find it again. And it looked like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't I buy 2 of them? You know what I'm saying? Like,
just buy one and put one away.
Put one away. So, I'm not even joking. Like, I had somebody yesterday just walking randomly down a hallway at a high school game. He's like, where'd you get that hat? He's just like, stopped me. And I wasn't wearing it. He's like, where did you get your hat? I've had like 5-10 people, same thing. Like,
wow.
Random. Hey, man, really big fan, ... Where'd you get your hat? 47 brand, man.
47 brand.
But yeah.
That's awesome. The only other listener question I have was, how much do you watch the NBA? And like, are you watching Chet Holmgren?
I keep up with it. I don't watch it religiously, and it's kind of sad now. Everything's a highlight deal, so like, you can feel like you're still in it, and just maybe it's positive, but you consume it and watch like 30 seconds, and I think that's a problem. Is I'm not trying to turn this into a rant, but a problem for a lot of young basketball players. Like, oh, I watch hoops. Like, but did you watch just the highlights, or did you watch the whole game?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So I've been following him. He's playing fantastic. I predicted that. I've said that to people too last year. Like when he got hurt, I was like, this actually might be a blessing in disguise. He gets 1 year to work on his body. He has put on weight, and I know people laugh when you say that, but like if you just look at his face and his shoulders, like he looks like he's put on like 10, 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, good for him. You know what I'm saying? That's with his body type, that's as big as he's going to get, or maybe a little bit bigger. But like, it's just his body type. He was always tough. He was an excellent shot maker. So like at that level, like those things really matter.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And he's playing with an all-star, SGA. He's that giddy kid, but I don't want to talk about him with all that weird stuff that was going on. But they have a good team is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And him being like the third option is unbelievable. Like perfect. Like I think he's at 50, 40, 90 pace right now. So 50% field goal, 40% 3, 90 from the free throw line. Only a few guys. Larry Bird's done it. I think Steve Nash has done it. I know Steph Curry's done it. It's like, I think Durant did it, maybe, or been close. That's like the benchmark of a really good, especially if you're shooting volume for a shooter. You shoot over 50%, 40 from three, and then 90 from the line. He's trending at that right now. So he's had a fantastic year, man. And like I said, the reason I say I predicted that, some people are like, he's going to go and score 25. I'm like, no, he's not. And that's, you got to, and then wait for the end of my response. It's like, he's going to be like in a spot if he goes to like Oklahoma City where he's the third option and he gets to space the floor and like cut and all that stuff. Like, he'll get you 18 a night, 16, 18 his rookie year and be completely fine and help that team win. And then he'll have 38 like he did against Golden State and made that three. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, having a fantastic season.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. Like, and it's true though. Like, it is like very much a highlight. I've watched a couple of NBA, like parts of NBA games.
But it's hard to sit through.
It's hard to sit through. Even my son, like my son loves NBA and loves watching the clips. And then we sat down and watched a game the other night. He's like, Dad, these guys don't play defense. He's like, it was just funny to just get like an 8-year-old's perspective on NBA basketball.
Yeah, no, it's I watch just enough to keep up, but I think of probably like everybody besides American football is you tune in, but then playoffs when you watch full games.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I am with
100%
pretty much every sport. So, yeah, good episode.
Yeah,
thanks for helping out. Thank you for our sponsors, McGillivray Environmental, Idaho Central Credit Union, and HDG Architecture. Join us again next week. Like I said, we'll recap USC. And then we'll talk about the upcoming schedule against UW and UConn and some of the meat of our non-conference fun games coming up. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening.